Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Calvin Hughes, and welcome to the 2021 Scholarship Awards Banquet. On behalf of the South Florida chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists Association, again, my name is Calvin Hughes. I'm with Local 10. I anchor the 4, 5, 6, and 11 o'clock newscast. I do hope you watch, and I'll be your MC for this event. NABJ-South Florida is presenting this year's festivities virtually because of the pandemic, but please know that we are just as excited as any other year to award deserving students a big financial boost in the form of scholarships. We know these dollars will give them a running start both academically and as our leaders of tomorrow, especially in the world of communications. Right now, it is my pleasure to introduce you to one of South Florida's most respected pastors to kick off our event, of course, with an opening prayer. Say hello to the Reverend Arthur Jackson III, who is the senior pastor and teacher at Antioch Missionary Baptist Church in the great city of Miami Gardens. Take a listen.
Thank you so much, Jill, and to the members of the NABJ South Florida. Thank you for this opportunity to come share this prayer with you and those who will be listening. Can we pray? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day. We give you praise and honor for allowing us to see this day, a day in which we shall never see again. God, I thank you personally for how you are providing for us in the midst of a pandemic. We give you praise for how you've kept us safe in the midst of these turbulent times. And now, God, I ask blessings upon this august body. I thank you for the members of this organization and their contributions to the advancement of young people. I pray, God, that everything that's done and said today will be conducive to giving your name glory and honor. And we praise you for what you have done, for what you are doing, and more importantly, for what we believe you're getting ready to do. Be with us. We ask this now. In your Son, Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Reverend Jackson, thank you so much for that. And I guess part of the prayer was that I was supposed to open my eyes and found out that I was Jill Tracy. But no, I would be so lucky to look like Jill Tracy and also to sound like her. She's a wonderful lady, but she was supposed to be our MC, but right now she's actually on the radio. So she is at work. So I am standing in for her and doing the very best that I can possibly do. She is a wonderful lady and an excellent communicator. So Pastor Jackson, once again, Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, we know especially in these unusual times, faith is the fabric that continues to mold us all. Music is a force that can warm our soul as well. The lyrics of Lift Every Voice and Sing is one of the songs that we chose, commonly referred to as the Black National Anthem. And to soothe our souls and ears will be a woman by the name and singer by the name of Gabby. Let's take a listen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say thus that star-spangled banner yet wave, for the land of the free
Gabby, thank you so much. And I think I said Black National Anthem, but also we have that in our hearts. But that was, of course, the national anthem for the United States as well. So thank her for that beautiful selection, which is still resonating in our hearts today, more than 100 years, of course, after the Black National Anthem was written. Hopefully, we all know the words to that already. We don't need to put those words up again. It's in our hearts. But the plight of African Americans has been well documented, but new doors and meaningful opportunities have been created because of those struggles, like the National Association of Black Journalists. Founded in 1975, the mission of NABJ is to provide quality programs and services to promote diversity and advocate on behalf of Black journalists. So please welcome the president of NABJ-South Florida and my good friend for more than 20 years and the anchor of that other TV station, no, NBC6. He does a great job. NBC's Jaron Strader. Stick with us.
Good afternoon. I'm Jawan Strader, also president of NABJ South Florida. I want to say a big congratulations to all of the scholarship winners, and I want to say a big thank you to the scholarship applicants. The competition was tight. It wasn't easy at all, but we were able to come together and select our scholarship winners. Also, I want to say a big thank you to Calvin Hughes, our scholarship chair. This wasn't easy whatsoever. It's been years since NABJ South Florida was able to award scholarships, so we're thankful for that. Also, I want to say a big thank you to Terrell Fournet, the event chair, for putting this great virtual event together. And most importantly, we hope that you have a great 2021-2022 school year. Of course, we've been challenged because of COVID, but we hope that these scholarship dollars will go to great use. Be sure to make it a great year.
All right. Did I mention he was good looking too? You know, see, there you go. He has his beat on all fronts, you know. So, yeah, Jawan Strader, our good friend, and the president of NABJ, the president of NABJ South Florida. So now is the moment we've all been waiting for. You know, I know you all are laughing at my jokes. I can see, you know, I can't see you guys. My daughter never laughs at my jokes. My son never laughs. My sons never laugh at my joke, but I laugh. So this is on. But anyway, so this is the moment we've been waiting for, to hear who the scholarship winners are. And I can't wait to name them. And Joanna's right. It's been a long process trying to name, trying to select all of the scholarship winners and the applicants. I will tell you, it was not an easy process at all, because I think we have so many future talented, aspiring journalists out there, those who are really doing a great job. So there were multiple students who applied, more than a dozen, I can tell you that, all with equally bright futures, and we certainly thank them all for that. I'm supposed to stick to this script here, so I'm trying to do that. Anyway, there were multiple students who applied, so in the end, there was only one space for a select few. So the first recipient is my own drum roll in my head here, Alexis Nelson. I know your family is happy. Alexis, hi, how are you? The winner of the Rochelle Bridges Memorial Scholarship. It is named after the late South Florida anchor, Rochelle Bridges, and because of in-kind donations, the scholarship was created in her honor. So Alexis is getting $1,500. So family members, hit her up for $1 or $2 to send you some money, but $1,500 for the scholarship. Here is Alexis Nelson.
Hi, my name is Alexis Nelson, and I am proud to say that I will be attending Florida Memorial University in the fall as an incoming freshman, and I will also be a college athlete playing flag football. For my future goals, I would like to own or work for a public relations agency that represents major brands. Public relations is a very broad industry, meaning I will be able to work in any industry of my interest. I find public relations to be very essential because it does help strengthen a brand, build relationships, and connections with different people. With that being said, with this Rochelle Bridges scholarship money that I have received and was able to win, the money will be used to help me pay for my tuition and other education expenses, such as my books and course materials. Thank you for giving me this opportunity and this scholarship.
Alexis, you are fantastic, and you were certainly my pick to win the scholarship. We had a committee of people who were selecting folks, and you were my pick. So I'm extremely happy and personally happy that you won the scholarship. So I didn't know about the flag football. My gosh, flag football! I wonder what position she plays. Probably running back. She's fast. Anyway, so congratulations once again. So the next three scholarships are named after one of my favorite people on the planet, someone who's been a mentor for me for years, the legendary broadcaster from Local 10 News, Dwight Lauderdale. He is the first Black primary anchor in South Florida. In other words, he is the Jackie Robinson of news anchors in the South. And let me tell you, he was really good at his job. People still talk about him. So Dwight retired back in 2008. And he recently sat down with me. Of course, as you heard from Juwan, I am the scholarship chairperson. And we had fun talking for about, so buckle in for about a good 9.5 minutes. So sit back and drink your glass of wine that you have off the screen here and enjoy the conversation because he is truly, truly an extraordinary individual. Take a listen.
Thank you for this honor to the association and to all the members over the decades. Now, it's amazing that this tradition, as far as Black journalists working together for the future generations, is still continuing, and I'm so happy to see that. Thanks for including me. I'm honored.
Well, we have some incredible winners that we had a chance to go through their scholarship applications, and each of them had incredible grades, very smart, and you should know and rest in comfort that the future of journalism is in good hands. So you have given me so much advice over the years, Dwight, and I've been so blessed to have you as a friend and as a mentor. What advice would you pass along to young people? Because you had to deal with so much being the Jackie Robinson of news anchors in South Florida. You broke the color line, and everyone still today, they see you as someone who really is a treasure here in South Florida.
Well, thank you for the kind words. And you're right, there was no playbook for those of us who were in that first generation of African-American reporters, particularly in Miami, because, of course, everyone kind of came from someplace else. And we weren't exactly welcomed with open arms at first in the community because we were considered outsiders. But as time went on and we got to know each other and the community saw that we were there as the first, they embraced us. And as we got to know the community, then that's when things really took off and we all together kind of watched the Miami area grow. As far as advice, the only thing that I would say to the recipients, and first of all, congratulations. I'm sure many applied, but you were chosen, and don't forget that. The only advice I would have is don't try to be the next Calvin Hughes. Don't try to be the next Juwan Strader. Don't try to be like those whom you have the opportunity to learn from. Try to be better than them. Wow. I'll never forget a young man walking in our station one day. He was an intern. He says, "I'm going to take your job one day." And after I told him he could have it, I told him, "Look, I don't want you to try to be like me. I want you to be better than me." Yeah. So don't pattern your style or anything after. Be the first you. Don't try to be the next Calvin Hughes, the next Ralph Renee. Be the first you. And understand that you have a unique opportunity to be a voice for those who don't have a voice, to tell their stories. Don't take that for granted. Again, how many thousands of students want to be where you are today? You were chosen. So don't take that lightly, please. Take it seriously. And the first thing that I tell any student who seeks to do what we've done and what you're doing is that you're not doing it to be on television. Television is just simply the mechanism. You're a communicator. You're there to tell stories. So don't take that responsibility lightly. And don't be afraid to ask the Calvin Hughes, the folks that you see today. Don't be afraid to ask for their advice because they've been where you're going already. And as the business changes, for example, I retired 13 years ago. I hardly recognize the business anymore. It's foreign to me. But those of you who are doing it today have had to make the adjustments with the technology exceeding sometimes our ability to get the information and that kind of thing. And the way that the world has changed, the way that our nation has changed, and you've had to make those adjustments. But by the same token, you're still a journalist first, and don't forget that.
So I could ask you about 50 questions based on what you just said, brother, because the truth is being attacked these days. People are making up their own reality and living in it. So I could ask you about that. So I want you to briefly comment on that, but also the other thing that I think is most important that you have taught me from day one, it is make excellence a habit on television, but you got to be in the community. You got to go back in the community.
That's true, but you also have to know your role. And I really struggled with that aspect when I first got into the business, because people in the community weren't used to having someone who looks like them as this reporter on television. So they had kind of a different perception of what my job was. I was looking at an article that came out of the Miami Herald in 1980. And it basically says that, and it was a quote for me, that I'm a journalist, not a politician. And what we had to do as that first group of African-American journalists was to really kind of educate the community on what our job was. They didn't understand that we couldn't be, lead the parade and report on the parade, that we had a separate role. But by the same token, we could also help them understand how to use this thing called television, this thing called the Miami Herald, this thing called radio, how to use that for the betterment of the community. So it was really a struggle there at first, because I kind of patterned, if you will, my career after Walter Cronkite. In fact, today, as a registered voter, I'm a registered independent.
That's right.
As viewers shouldn't know my politics.
That's right.
All right, so I'm a registered independent, even though I've been retired for 13 years. I'm a registered independent. My job, as I saw it, was to tell you who, what, where, when, why, and how, but I wasn't there to tell you how to feel about it. And unfortunately, today, that line has been blurred, and now we have, networks telling people how to feel about things.
That's right.
We have viewers are having problems, drawing the line between facts and opinion. That's and right. Unfortunately, sometimes the opinion side is winning. And frankly, I don't know how you deal with that. Now, I know at the local level it's a little easier than it is at the national, international level. You're pretty much, from what I can tell, just looking at local news around the country, they're still basically holding up that giant mirror in front of the community. And what's reflected in that mirror is what's going on around you. But you're not telling anyone how to feel about it. And I think now you have to be even more, just really pay closer attention to how to do that.
Mm-hmm. Your advice for the young people who are looking to get into journalism?
The only advice, again, that I would leave young journalists, particularly those of you who will be starting out with the scholarships, no one's going to hand it to you. You have to go out and take it. Try to set yourself apart from the next person in the room. And don't put all your eggs in one basket. By that, all right, I would go into a classroom and ask the members of the class, who wants to be a reporter on Channel 10? And all their hands would go up. And then I would explain to them, look, at the time, we had, I believe, 12, maybe 14 anchors and reporters. And I would explain, look, that's all the jobs there were at Channel 10, multiplied by the number of stations in town. That's all the jobs there are in this market.
That's right.
Yet there are thousands of young people trying to get that job. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Learn to do multiple things. And just try to do them to the best of your ability. And don't think that it has to do, if you don't get the job that you want, don't think that it has anything to do with you. It has a lot to do with numbers. You could make a comparison on a different basis to sports. How many young men dribbling a basketball on a court in Liberty City think they're going to the NBA? All of them, or most of them. And how many end up there? You have to kind of look at it that way. So don't put all your eggs in one basket, and don't be afraid to try things.
This young generation, on a different note, because I know how much you love basketball, this young generation thinks if they had two picks, it would be Jordan or LeBron to start up a franchise. Who would you choose, LeBron or Jordan? Who do you think is the best between them?
I have to go with Michael Jordan. He is the GOAT. Yes, he is the GOAT. Well, we've had this conversation, I think. I didn't like the way that LeBron changes the way a team plays. Being a ball-dominant kind of guy. And that's why the Lakers this year, with the group they put together, it's going to be real interesting.
I just want to tell you, man, thank you always for being there for me, and really appreciate you, brother. And we love you. We still love you here, and you will always be a legend. Always, always.
Well, I don't know that I would use my name and legend in the same sentence, but thank you for thank you for the sentiment. And again, I really look back on my career, and I look back on the times in Miami, and it was all about the people I worked with. As you well know, we had some great teams in Miami.
Wow. He's just incredible. I could have gone on and on. Typically, when he and I talk, it's normally for about 2 hours. So, and it's after the 11 o'clock newscast, so we go easily into 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I try to make that happen as often as I possibly can. So thank you, Dwight, once again. He is just an awesome guy. We're going to send him a copy of this. He's on his he's retired, so he gets, to go whatever and do whatever he wants to do right now. So he's off on a nice cruise with his beautiful wife, Minnie. So, okay, now it's time for the scholarship winners for the Dwight Lauderdale Scholarship. And I must say that, as the scholarship chairperson too, that this particular scholarship, and even both of them, the Rochelle Bridges and the Dwight Lauderdale Scholarship, we've been looking to give this scholarship away for a very long time. And because of the pandemic and other things that have happened over the years, we've not been able to give this scholarship away. And I cannot think of 3 people who are better suited for the Dwight Lauderdale Scholarship. Alexa, Akila, and Rashad. And in fact, let me tell you, this race was so close between them that we had to create a way to give all 3 of them this scholarship. It was really meant for only 2, but we gave it away to an extra student because all 3 of you are just so incredible, so amazing. And we were just so floored just by how wonderful you guys are academically and what you're doing outside the classroom. The entire scholarship committee, I want to thank all of them, if I can take this moment to say that. And I also want to thank all of the applicants for applying. But as Dwight said, many applied, but only a few were chosen. So you were selected, and we hope that that each of you will use that money in a way to further your career in journalism, because all of you are so gifted. So with that being said, each of you did a video vignette. It's going to play. So my job as the MC for today, I believe, is over. The real Jill Tracy is going to be taking over after the scholars say their few words. Let's take a listen.
Hi, I'm Alexis Savagier, and I am a graduating senior at the University of Florida, majoring in English and journalism. After I graduate, I aspire to become an editor, whether in the book publishing industry, the entertainment industry, or the magazine industry. With that role, I plan to make an impact on what stories make it to readers and viewers. Far too often in media, do minorities get completely written out of a story, or they get misrepresented. I hope to change that. This scholarship can help me achieve my goals by paying for my tuition for my last stretch of classes before I graduate. I am so excited and so thankful to have been chosen as the female recipient of the Dwight Lauderdale Scholarship. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Rashad West. I am a third-year student at Florida International University. I'm studying digital and interactive media with a minor in social media and e-marketing analytics. My goal is to pursue marketing and advertising one day in hopes to work for a major company and even eventually go into business for myself, creating digital journalistic content like a blog. The Dwight Lauderdale Scholarship will help me reach these goals by assisting me with the luxury of being able to afford a car. I'll be able to commute to and from campus without worrying about spending so much time and money on Uber and public transportation. I'd also like to eventually start a nonprofit organization that's tailored towards the Black and Brown youth that are interested in journalism and media. So that is definitely something that I'll pursue after I get my degree and give back to the community.
Hello everyone, my name is Akila Winters and I am a rising senior attending Florida A&M University and I'm majoring in journalism, and I was born and raised in Key West, Florida. And a little bit about myself, I am a very creative individual and you'll always find me either playing a musical instrument or doodling just anywhere. First and foremost, I really just want to say thank you to the scholarship community for gifting me this opportunity. With this scholarship, it'll allow me to financially be able to support myself until graduation, and I can also start my own foundation in my career. And I also would like to just start an initiative for younger journalists who are struggling mentally, especially during this time. And yeah, it'll just help me get through my passion as well, which is to help marginalized communities and people just have a voice. Thank you so much again.
Oh, and thank you. We are so proud of each and every one of you. So happy to be here with you all. As you see, I'm multitasking, which will be part of your life once you get in the business as well. Our final scholarship recipient is courtesy of an endowment from Florida International University. Please welcome the Department Chair of Journalism and Media at FIU, Dr. Susan Jacobson. Good afternoon, Susan.
Good afternoon, Jill. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So great to have you.
Well, my name is Susan Jacobson, and I'm the interim chair in the Department of Journalism and Media at Florida International University. I really want to thank the South Florida chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists for their hard work in organizing this event and for supporting promising young journalists like Ashley Maxey in their career. So Ashley is a senior at Florida International University, and she has been a regular contributor to our flagship publication, the South Florida Media Network, which won the 2020 EPI Award for Best College Website this past year, which is like the college newspaper Oscars. And that's thanks to the very hard work of Ashley and students like her. Chuck Strauss, the digital director of the South Florida Media Network, says that Ashley is a smart, hardworking, and interested in everything. He has been delighted to see her grow and develop her journalism skills over the last 2 years. Ashley is also a social media intern at ID Discovery and has interned at EPTV and Ashton Martin Network. She's a regular contributor to the blog for Black Girls in Media, a professional networking organization committed to support and uplift minority women in the media industry. Ashley hopes to pursue a career in music and entertainment journalism after she graduates. And so let's hear from Ashley.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, NABJ-South Florida, for the generous scholarship, and to Dr. Susan Jacobson, who is FIU's new interim chair for the Department of Journalism and Media. This award has already been such a use for me, as it was expensive to pay for my last semester this fall. This award has already helped me to be able to walk the stage, maybe virtually. I plan to work in the media entertainment industry with the skills I've obtained this past summer at Discovery Inc. and at my 3 years at Florida International University. I will be looking for job placement opportunities, so Discovery Inc. is already top of my list. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you for your hard work. And again, thanks so much to the South Florida chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists.
And thank you, Susan. Oh my goodness. I am so excited for her, right? And welcome. Are you new to South Florida, Susan?
No, I am not. I grew up in Venice, Florida, a long way away from Miami.
Wow.
But I am a Florida native, so I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, we are happy to have you as part of our family as well. Look forward to meeting you in person soon.
Same here.
And oh, thank you so much. All right, now our next guest, sorry, our next guest can attest to how much hard work and discipline it takes to be a part of this business, but how much that your hard work will pay off. Years ago, he was an intern and a TV producer trying to find his way in the field of journalism. Today, he's an executive at ABC News. Galen Gordon is the senior vice president of talent strategy and talent strategy and development for the ABC News Network. And he recently sat down with an NABJ member and Channel 10 reporter, Terrell Forney. You would think I don't talk for a living. This is what happens when you multitask, but get used to it. All right, he sat down with our dear Terrell for a conversation to enlighten youth and future leaders.
All right. Well, first off, let me say thank you to NABJ-South Florida. Thank you, Terrell. Shout out to Juwan, my brother from another mother. How did I get started? I started my journalism journey, if you will, the senior year, the summer going into my senior year of college at Oral Roberts University. I knew that I didn't want to graduate without any sort of experience in my particular field. At the time, I was a mass communications major with an emphasis on PR. But there was this black newspaper in Tulsa, Oklahoma called the Oklahoma Eagle. And I admired the people from afar. And I decided to seek out the editor and ask him for an internship. And I was quite assertive, and I sent letters. Email wasn't around back then. I sent letters and phone calls until he finally took a meeting with me. And he allowed me to write stories and take photos for the paper. And the rate at the time was $25 a story and $10 a photo. So for a college student back then, that was decent money when you don't have any bills. So it was pretty cool. And that it ended up going through that entire summer. I graduated the following year, and make a long story short, I ended up covering John Starks and the New York Knicks in their playoff run. That's how long ago it was. And I got an exclusive interview with him. And not too long after that, I was hired at the NBC station in Tulsa, Oklahoma, KJRH, as an associate producer. The news director at the time, named Peggy Phillip, who came from WXVN in Miami, who just started her first news director job. She saw me as an aspiring reporter, and I just was thrilled to have a job out of college. So eventually I made my way towards producing, because I sat next to the producer every day. I would sit in editorial meetings, and I would hear stories pitched that didn't affect me or anyone that looked like me. But I also saw that, look, I love reporters. Reporters have one aspect of a show. The producer has the show, and I wanted the show. And so that began my journalism, my producing career in local TV.
And this was a field that was just calling your name, would you say?
I would say that I enjoyed writing. And the one thing I want to implore to younger journalists, older journalists know this, and young people, like, you have to really enjoy writing and work on the craft of writing. And so, again, I was a mass comm major. And so I loved writing. Papers wasn't necessarily an issue for me. Telling stories, writing stories, and working on my prose, if you will, was, and honing that craft was a big part of that. And so once I fell in love with writing for television, which is different from writing for print, because when you write for television, it's one thought per sentence. And when you're writing for print, you can get a lot of the who, what, when, where, and why in about maybe 1 or 2 sentences. But for television, we write the way we speak, which is, again, typically one thought per sentence. So once I learned that and how to communicate that into TV, you can say it was somewhat of it was calling me, but I was thrilled about, I was so intrigued about learning more that I had my parents take the 5, 6, and 11 o'clock newscasts at WNBC in New York, where I'm from, and WABC. And I had them send me those tapes, and I would just watch those tapes to see how they use teases, how much time they dedicated to teases, how they transition between stories, how they use maps, how they use graphics, and all of that. And I would just watch it, and I was able to watch those tapes and come back to my job in Tulsa, and as a writer, and kind of apply some of those principles that I saw, and but also ask questions along the way. So it was a journey those first 2 or 3 years. So yes, was it calling me? I guess you can say that.
Yeah. And when you started on your way, what about mentors? Did you seek those out? Did they fall into place? How did they come into play?
Well, this is a two-parted answer. Number one, first and foremost, was NABJ. I found most of my mentors at the National Association of Black Journalists NABJ annual conference, right? But my primary mentor, who's still a mentor to this day, is a woman that named Paula Madison. And I met, and she happened to be the news director at WNBC. She's a Black woman, born and raised in Harlem. She's of Jamaican and Chinese heritage, Asian heritage. And Juwan and I drove from Tulsa to Dallas for an NABJ regional. I believe it was 1996. And Paula was a keynote speaker in Dallas. She was a former assistant news director at WFAA. And when I saw that the news director at the station that I wanted to work at was this is the news radio station I want to work at, and she's a Black female. I was like, whoa. And so at that time, I was a producer in Joplin, Missouri, market 147. But I'm from New York. And so I walked up to her and I said, hi, Paula, I really enjoyed your speech. Nice to meet you. I'm from New York. I'd love to work in your newsroom one day. I'm not ready. I'm only in Joplin, Missouri, but here's my card. And she gave me her card. And that was that. The next year, I was in St. Louis, market 20. I'd gone from market 147 to market 20, and I was a morning show producer there. And I was flying home to visit my parents. And I said, well, I had Paula's card. I said, Vice President of News, WNBC. I said, well, let me call her and see if I could just stop by and say hi. I'm like, surely she's not going to answer the phone because she's Vice President of News. So I call and she answers the phone in her typical way, Paula Madison. I was like, oh, hi, Paula.
I can hear her voice now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I said, how are you? I said, I'm not sure if you remember me, but Galen Gordon. She goes, I remember you, Galen. I said, I'm in St. Louis now. I'm going to be home to visit my parents. So I wonder if it would be okay if I can stop by and say hi. She said, I'll do you one better. Why don't you come make a day of it? You can sit through our 9 a.m. meeting. You can sit next to our 5 o'clock producers and spend the day and see how our shows were produced. That was everything for me. And she allowed me to come there that day. I'm walking into 30 Rock. The NBC Nightly News is 2 floors below, I believe. And so it was amazing. And so that opportunity that Paula gave me as a mentor was everything that I needed to know, that if I had the opportunity to produce in New York one day, that I see what it takes and I know what it takes.
And that underscores the importance of organizations like NABJ, or if, there are other organizations, Pointer, whatever, you delve into, it underscores the importance about getting into the fundamentals of these types of programs that are available.
Yeah, no, it does. It totally does. And programming at NABJ was everything. It allowed me to think differently as a journalist, to expect more for myself as a journalist, and to some degree more from my organization. That came later in my career as you place expectations on organizations. Now in my current position as Senior Vice President heading up talent for ABC News, I'm able to leverage and influence how we think from the top, how we think from the top down, from a journalism perspective, from a diversity perspective, how we think about men, women, people of color, all of that. And so the programming there is important, and it's also a great place to to identify mentors, people that can be in your what I call your personal board of directors. So I think my first NABJ was 1995, as I mentioned, and I haven't missed a conference since, even virtually.
Yes.
So
I can attest to that. What does your day look like at ABC? What does a normal day look like for Galen Gordon in your current role?
I will say no 2 days are the same, but there are a few things that are consistent, which is our 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. editorial meetings. I'm constantly in meetings with our business affairs team, helping them negotiate deals, helping them negotiate deals, helping them shape deals, setting terms for contracts. But I'm also with my team, the talent strategy and development team. We're actively recruiting journalists from across the industry, from across the marketplace. So we're charged with developing those that are already inside ABC News, but we're also charged with recruiting journalists into the organization.
Typically, especially in broadcast journalism, they start in a small market and they work their way up. What are some common pitfalls, some mistakes that these younger journalists should avoid?
Trying to move too fast. One, I talked about writing earlier. This career that we've chosen of journalism, of storytelling, is one that is built over time, and it's kind of like slow and steady. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but for me, my local markets. I told you I started in Joplin as an AP. My first job as a producer I started in Tulsa as an AP. Sorry, my first job as a producer was Joplin, Missouri, market 147. It took me 2.5 years to realize I needed to go to a smaller market for me to realize, okay, let me go to a small market, actually learn how to put together a show on my own. And I did that. And so from Joplin, after 8 months, I went from Joplin to St. Louis. I was in St. Louis for a year, went back to NABJ, got hired in Cleveland, was in Cleveland for 14 months, went back to NABJ, and was hired in Pittsburgh. And I was the 11 o'clock producer, executive producer in Pittsburgh. I was the 11 o'clock producer back in Cleveland. And then Paula Madison called me and told me that she had a producer opening at WNBC. I go interview, and she hired me as her 11 o'clock producer 21 years ago, back in 2000. And so I would say it's a slow and steady race. Build your mentors, your personal board of directors, which is people that will be honest with you about your work and how you're approaching your work and your presence as a journalist, as an executive for you executives out there. So it's a slow and steady race, but it is rewarding in the end because you get to impact people's lives. I always say journalism, like our job as journalists and storytellers, is give people information so they can make informed decisions about their lives, right? And I got that from Paula, and I use it to this day. So slow and steady. Don't be in a rush. Yes. If you're good, the jobs will come.
And we are nearing the end. I just want to give you an opportunity to, give a closing statement in a sense. Speak directly to the journalists of tomorrow. What is your advice to them?
Look, my advice is a little bit of what I just said, of really, really work on your writing and thinking about how to engage. Like when I started, it was linear television, right? That was the one medium that I chose. Now I'm hiring journalists that are able to engage, and storytellers that are able to engage people across all platforms, linear, digital, social. Most folks are getting their content on their phones. And finding mentors and people that can talk to you in these specific places and spaces. Journalism has been under attack the last few years. The moniker fake news, to some degree, is still out there. So we have to protect this institution of storytelling with, again, giving people in the public truth. So, continue to fight for truth and for good stories, and to shine a light in communities that need it, and tell stories that are impactful and make a difference in your respective communities. So that is my word. Congratulations. Let me say real quick to these 4 college students, the scholarship winners. I heard about that. I think what NABJ-South Florida is doing is fantastic. And I truly appreciate the opportunity to talk with the group.
Galen Gordon, Senior VP, Talent Strategy and Development at ABC News. Thank you so much.
Terrell, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
That was awesome. And I love Galen. I sat on a panel with him at Florida Memorial University, and the brothers of truth and the light. Thank you so much for sharing some time with us. And Terrell, you're that Black man. Love you, mean it. All right, now, well, to close out, it's about that time. But before we do, let's hear one more time from Gabby. Please welcome her back performing Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. I was blind, but now I see.
Amen. You better do that. And one time for the, yes, honey. I love it. That was absolutely beautiful. And on that note, I want to give a very special shout out to NBC Universal and Florida International University. It is because of your commitments to this cause that we are able to put these aspiring students in the proper path forward. And it is so important, and we thank you for sewing into them as well. I have been your co-host along with Calvin Hughes. Thank you so much for joining us. We're signing off for now, and we will see you next year. Love you, mean it. Bye-bye.